What if I told you that some angels didn't just fall, they abandoned their sacred post? That they crossed a line so dangerous even heaven had to act? These weren't demons. They were divine watchers, guardians of humanity, who chose rebellion. And the world has never been the same since. Welcome to Divine War Stories, where hidden truths, celestial battles, and forbidden powers are brought into the light. If you're drawn to the mysteries of heaven, the secrets of the supernatural, and the wars fought beyond the veil, you're in the right place. They were known as the Watchers, celestial beings assigned to observe humanity from a distance, never to interfere. Their presence was meant to be quiet, their mission simple: watch, record, and never touch. But somewhere along the way, something changed. These divine sentinels gazed too long upon mankind. They became fascinated, then obsessed, with the world they were never meant to join. And in that obsession, a forbidden desire awakened. These weren't just rogue angels. They were trusted heavenly beings who made a deliberate, irreversible choice. They left their domain. And their fall triggered a chain reaction that would shake both heaven and earth. According to ancient texts, especially the Book of Enoch, a group of 200 watchers descended upon Mount Hermon. Their leader? A powerful angel named Semjaza. Under his command they formed a pact, an oath, that bound them all together. They knew the risk. They knew the cost. But their craving for human connection was stronger than their loyalty to heaven. And so they descended. Not in secret. Not in fear. But boldly. Their mission had shifted, from observers to invaders. And what they brought to the earth was not just knowledge, but chaos. The Watchers taught humanity secrets never meant for mortal minds. Weapon forging. Sorcery. The movements of the stars. Curses. Plants that could heal or kill. They introduced war, seduction, and corruption. But the most shocking of all? They took human wives. These unions produced offspring unlike any the world had seen. Giants, violent and unholy. The Nephilim. These hybrid beings roamed the earth, devouring its resources and spreading terror. The world cried out in agony. And heaven listened. The Nephilim weren't just big, they were brutal. They dominated early humanity, enslaving cities, drinking blood, crushing bones. Ancient myths across cultures speak of monstrous giants, gods who fell from the sky, and wars between heaven and earth. These weren't fairy tales. They were echoes of a terrifying truth. The world had become something unrecognizable. Twisted. Tainted. A place where fallen angels ruled and their spawn reigned. And the judgment was coming. God looked down and saw the devastation. The purity of creation was being drowned in darkness. And the decree was made: the Watchers would face divine punishment. But this wasn't just exile. This was a complete spiritual lockdown. God sent the archangel Uriel with a message for Enoch, the righteous man of the earth, who would become a scribe between heaven and the fallen. And the punishment? The Watchers were to be bound in chains beneath the earth, locked in eternal prisons of shadow until the day of final judgment. Semjaza, Azazel, and the other leaders were dragged into the abyss. But their influence didn't vanish. Azazel, in particular, had taught mankind to make weapons and armor, tools of bloodshed. And for that, he was buried in a desert, covered with jagged stones, cursed forever. But something deeper remained. The Nephilim were still roaming, and the corruption had spread too far. Heaven's response would be catastrophic. A great cleansing was required, a reset. And so came the flood. Not just a rainstorm, not just a judgment on men, but a divine operation to wipe out the genetic corruption of the Watchers. Noah, found righteous in his generation, was preserved. But make no mistake, the real target wasn't just mankind's sin. It was the offspring of the angels. The waters rose and the hybrid giants were swept away. Their bodies died, but their spirits? That's another story. Many ancient writings suggest the spirits of the Nephilim did not return to God. Instead, they became the evil spirits that torment the world to this day. Restless, bitter, and trapped between realms. No longer angel. No longer human. These are the origins of demons, according to the Book of Enoch and other ancient sources. Not fallen angels themselves, but the bastard children of rebellion. And they're still active, whispering chaos into the world of men. So why did the Watchers do it? Was it lust? Was it pride? Or were they manipulated by something even darker? Some believe a shadow force was already at work, something ancient that whispered rebellion into the hearts of heaven's most trusted. Lucifer's fall was one thing. But this was a contamination, a spiritual virus. And the Watchers were only the beginning. Even today, some claim their influence hasn't fully vanished, that they wait, beneath the earth, in chains, for release. The New Testament hints at this hidden truth. In Jude 1 verse 6 and 2 Peter 2 verse 4, we're told of angels who left their proper domain and are now bound in gloomy dungeons until judgment. That language matches perfectly with Enoch's account. These weren't myths to the early Christians, they were warnings. Warnings of divine justice, spiritual corruption, and the unseen war raging above and below our world. The Watchers didn't just fall. They shattered the barrier between the heavenly and the human. And we're still dealing with the fallout. But here's where things get darker and more mysterious. Some ancient scholars believe that not all the Watchers were punished equally. While many were bound, a few might have evaded immediate judgment. Their knowledge, scattered across civilizations, shows up in strange places, like the Sumerian tablets, Egyptian rituals, and even Mayan astronomy. It's as if pieces of forbidden wisdom were seeded among early empires. Could the Watchers have passed on secrets before their fall? Did their technology, if we can even call it that, shape the rise of ancient kingdoms? These aren't just conspiracy theories. These are patterns. Traces, footprints of the divine gone rogue. And the mountain where they descended, Mount Hermon, is still a place of fascination. Located in modern-day Lebanon, it has a reputation for supernatural encounters. Even in Jesus' time, it was considered a gateway between worlds. The region is tied to the Transfiguration, where Jesus revealed his divine glory. Some scholars believe this was no coincidence. That Jesus chose the very mountain where the Watchers fell to declare victory over them. It wasn't just a holy moment. It was a strike against ancient rebellion. A reversal of a curse that began long before humanity understood its weight. So where are the Watchers now? The Book of Enoch says they're in a place called Tartarus, a dark abyss beneath even Sheol, reserved for supernatural criminals. In the Greek world, Tartarus was the prison of the Titans, and that imagery matches perfectly. These aren't metaphorical chains. These are divine restraints. But here's the twist. Revelation speaks of a time when the abyss will be opened, and beings long imprisoned will be unleashed. Could this include the Watchers? Will they walk the earth again? Many believe that in the end times, the barriers between realms will thin, and old enemies will return. And what about the Nephilim? Were they truly all wiped out in the flood? The Bible hints that they may have returned. In Numbers 13, the Israelite spies report giants in Canaan, the descendants of the Nephilim. How could this be after the flood? Did more angels fall? Or did something survive, hidden in caves, waiting in bloodlines? It's a mystery that still stirs debate. But one thing is clear, the Watchers' legacy didn't end with the flood. It echoed forward, influencing nations, provoking wars, and twisting the destiny of kings. Their corruption lingers like smoke from a fire that never fully burned out. Modern culture has picked up on this ancient narrative, though often in distorted ways. Movies, books, and series about fallen angels and forbidden love romanticize what was actually a devastating spiritual rebellion. The truth is far more terrifying. The Watchers weren't heroes. They were traitors to the throne of heaven. And their decision caused generations of suffering. Yet, somehow, their story still attracts attention because deep down, people sense there's more to our history than we're told. Something ancient. Something supernatural. Something buried but not forgotten. In Jewish mysticism, some believe the knowledge the Watchers shared was later hidden or guarded by righteous men. The mystical traditions, like Kabbalah, wrestle with this concept, that some of the angelic knowledge could be redeemed, while the rest must remain sealed. It's a dangerous line. The difference between divine wisdom and forbidden knowledge is razor thin, and the Watchers blurred that line forever. They brought fire from heaven not to warm humanity, but to burn it from the inside out. And we're still trying to separate the ashes from the truth. There's also a prophetic dimension to their story. Jesus said that the end times would be, as in the days of Noah. That phrase isn't just about evil behavior, it's about spiritual intrusion. The days of Noah were marked by angelic rebellion, genetic corruption, and heavenly judgment. Are we seeing echoes of that now? Artificial intelligence, genetic modification, hybrid experiments, mankind reaching again into knowledge too vast for our grasp. It's not just science. It's a hunger for godlike power. The same hunger that infected the Watchers now pulses through our modern world. But even in the darkest chapters there is hope. Enoch stood between heaven and earth, a man who walked with God while documenting the fall of angels. Noah obeyed and preserved the seed of humanity. And today we have warnings, written in ancient words and spiritual truths, that guide us away from repeating history. The story of the Watchers is not just about what was lost. It's about what can be learned. Boundaries exist for a reason. And when we cross them, we don't just break rules, we unleash consequences that ripple across dimensions. So, when you hear stories of fallen angels, Nephilim, or forbidden knowledge, remember, it's not fiction. It's spiritual history. A war that started in the heavens and spilled into the soil of the earth. And the Watchers, they were the ones who crossed the line first. Not with violence, but with seduction, curiosity, a craving to become part of what they were meant to protect. And that craving destroyed countless lives. They left their domain. And in doing so, they left a scar on creation that only divine justice can heal. You've just journeyed through one of the most haunting and hidden tales in spiritual history, the story of the Watchers who fell not by accident but by choice. If this episode stirred something in you, questions, curiosity, or even conviction, don't stop here. There's more to uncover. More battles to reveal. Subscribe to Divine War Stories, where we bring light into the deepest shadows of the spiritual world. Share this with someone who's ready to dig deeper. And remember, not everything that falls stays buried. Some stories wait to be told. Subscribe to Divine War Stories for more untold truths from the edge of heaven and the depths of the unseen realm. There are wars most people never hear about. But you're ready to know.